It is said that the INTJ is an optimistic idealist, at the same time is a hard-headed cynic. Are these incompatible tendencies? Not for an INTJ. I think the future has the potential to be great. I unleashed my optimism. I wrote my book, Reloading the Colts. Even though it began with my two primary protagonists being murdered by a future Earth government, fortunately that was not the end. They were given the chance to continue on as non-biological life. They ended up in a distant galaxy on a planet all their own, an android, Adam and Eve. I'm nearly finished with book 2 in the series, The Colt Valley. Both my wife and I happily would swap places with Bill and Cookie Colt right now and never look back, because the future I envision is a very happy one. Sure, it is science fiction. But if science can't open the doors to wonderful possibilities, what can? Elon Musk is revolutionizing multiple industries as he lines up the final details on creating a Martian colony, with the first colonists arriving in less than a decade, maybe half that long. Even if he should fail, it shows what might be done. And if he is successful, the entire history of the human race will be altered by this one man. Optimism is easy to grab onto when you see the potential out there. At the same time, there's a dark side to what can be. The book, 1984, shows what a socialist government run amok can actually do to people. Orwell said he based Big Brother on Joseph Stalin and his Soviet government. In my lifetime, I have seen most of Europe and the United States move more and more in that direction. Today, when you earn $1, the government finds a way to pick your pocket and get nearly half of it, as if Uncle Sam works as hard as you do. This is not a voluntary contribution on your part, even though a lot of it will be handed out as charity. But even then, the government is not finished robbing you. What happens when you work extra hours? The government steals most of it. You give up your evening or your weekend and work overtime, taking time away from your family and the things you have a right to do, but you have chosen to give these up in order to earn money to better things for your family and for yourself. But there, like a mafia leg breaker, the government is waiting to take that money as if it were Uncle Sam who did that extra work and gave up his off time. You work the extra hours. You give up your leisure and your rest. And the government gets paid for your efforts. The more you earn, the more the government takes away. All the money you made on overtime is income that you wouldn't owe taxes on at all if you stayed at home and didn't work. You are being punished for being more productive. This isn't right, and it isn't even sane. Taking the money is bad enough, but when you look at what they use it for, it is even worse. It is enough to make a hardcore cynic out of anyone who thinks about it. Sadly, people around you, whether they're neighbors, friends, or strangers you run into on the street, can deal dishonestly with you. There are many in jail who have scammed others, people who only trusted them to be honest. Cynics are often created by experience in dealing with liars. Have you ever bought a used car? It can be quite an education. One of the things my wife is worried about concerning me is that she fears I'm going to become depressed because of the myriad of things that I can see around me that are pulling our society down and corrupting the structure of our country's foundational concepts, handed down from the days of Jefferson. Since I point out things that are going on, she fears that it is distressing me and sapping the joy out of my life. But she need not fear. I see what will happen over time when I extrapolate the things going on today into the future. This is very much like the engineer who designed the Titanic, going over the drawings and monitoring the water flow into the hull after the ship struck the iceberg. He was able to judge the time left before the ship was going to go down. It is clear, and it is certain to me, but it is merely one more thing in this universe that is, shall we say, unfortunate. I knew early on that one day I would die. I knew my grandparents would die, and my parents, and my aunts and my uncles. They would all die as well. The only one of all those people who are still alive today is my mother's younger sister. My father and his 6 siblings and his parents are all gone. My mother, 4 of her 5 siblings and her parents are gone. I have even lost several cousins who were all younger than I am. Being an only child, at least I have been spared worrying about the future death of my non-existent siblings. Now, I love my country, and I grieve its coming collapse. But truly, is that more troubling than what I have already lost and what I stand to lose in the future? My mind is facing these issues and the future that will come about because of the current flow of events. My emotions, I tend to reserve for the people who are within my inner circle. Something terrible going on out there generally only gets me angry when I fail to convey the importance of that event or set of events to someone I care about. The Cassandra syndrome is one of the most painful things I face. I see X happening, and I know that X will lead to a destructive Y. I explain this to my wife, and when she responds that everyone else sees it another way, or accepts X as being a good thing, it is only then that my emotions engage on the issue. I feel as though I have failed to properly express the true nature of X and its toxic aspects. This makes me far more angry than X itself, no matter how many people who are outside of my inner circle who embrace it. I don't expect wisdom from the masses. They tend to let the media and their fellow members of the herd do their thinking for them. Fitting in with the group is more important than being correct or knowledgeable. This morning, I listened to 2 physics lectures online, one from MIT and one from Stanford. I then watched the analysis of 2 grandmaster chess games. My son and my wife each nodded their heads at this fact, and my wife said, "Of course you did." There is a reason why I take my own well-thought-out ideas very seriously, and I expect proof far beyond the inane justification that I hear, "Well, everyone else thinks this is true." Seriously, I'm supposed to let that override the facts and reason? If I know for a fact that putting my hand in a fire will burn it, I don't care how many people tell me that it is a good way to cool my hand off. Yes, that is an absurd example, but it is no more absurd than many views I have heard justified in exactly that same way. In other words, when someone talks to me about important matters, or even matters of basic fact, I don't care what the news says or some actor says, I only care about the facts, and I will be happy to challenge any assertion made that is clearly absurd. If it seems to be unlikely to be true, I will ask for more evidence, and if it is not forthcoming, I will research it myself. There was a point in the 1970s film, Superman the Movie, where Lex Luthor says something to the effect, "It isn't that I don't trust you, Otis, but, well, I don't trust you." That pretty well says it for me generally. I don't mean disrespect. I would expect you to have the same view of my opinion if I were asserting something. Either it is true, or it is false, or it is unknown at this time to be either. If it is one of the latter 2, more research must be done before it is accepted as valid. End of story. A cynic, that's me. I am skeptical of ideas, assertions, and even motives until proven to be what they are represented to be. I expect you to do the same. I wish everyone did that. It would be a better world for it. Leaving cynicism behind for the moment, though I can't turn loose of it entirely, let's turn to the optimistic side of this INTJ. I see a future where medicine will test your DNA and tailor your meds on the spot to cure your maladies with 0 side effects. I see them repairing severed spinal cords and growing new pancreases inside humans to cure diabetes, and new livers, kidneys, and hearts. All this will happen one day, I know it. Replacing missing limbs will be done, growing real arms and legs as good as new. Genetic defects will one day be removed permanently. Psychopaths will be detected and cured as children. Cancer and old age will be forgotten as they rejuvenate the human body. And no, this will not create a population explosion because we are going into space where there will be no physical limits. One day you will demand to see a robotic artificial intelligence doctor because you would not trust a fallible human to do the job. Diagnoses will be far more reliable and surgeries will be far safer. Your home will guard your possessions, order your food, prepare your meals, and even monitor your children's safety. Robotic servants will be a source of perpetual learning and fun ways for your children, and the entire knowledge of humanity will be within their reach. Your car will drive you faster and with incredibly fewer accidents once all human drivers are gone from the roads. Even an AI-controlled motorcycle would be safe and fun to ride. At some point, we will have efficient solar cells on your roof and covering many square miles of the unused desert land where all the power needs for the country will be met. We won't need to kill birds with windmills. The sun will be all we really need. Our colonies on Mars and the Moon will allow us to learn things about space that we have no knowledge of today. A huge telescope on the far side of the Moon will be larger than anything on Earth, and there will be no atmospheric interference to distort its view. A vacation to another planet will become commonplace. Travel around on the Earth will also improve drastically. One day, cities under the ocean will be built. Something that is quickly heading our way is massively intelligent artificial intelligence. AI will quickly grow to be 1,000,000 times smarter than we are, and then 1,000,000,000 and 1,000,000,000,000 times smarter. It will be capable of thinking every possible human thought ever thought throughout all time, and do that within a single second. If you assume, which may be very premature, that this intelligence will be benign and it will choose to help us, what problem can you think of today that such an intellect could not solve? Do you need food? It could genetically engineer food that would grow in Antarctica or the Sahara Desert. It could design and build waterways to irrigate any dry place on Earth and to drain any overly wet place. It could build cities that would be safe from earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, and volcanoes. It could design satellite systems to protect us from any possible extraterrestrial accidental collisions or even an attack from aliens should that occur. The possibilities make me very optimistic, but the actions of people make me very cynical. A common idiocy that was passed around in the 1970s was that man should solve the problems on Earth before trying to head out into space. This is like saying, we need to solve our oil shortage problem before we dig that well into that huge oil deposit. Space has the answers. There are unlimited resources in space: energy, raw materials, room to grow and to raise crops. There is no limit to what can be done in space. On Earth you have limited space and crazy politicians who will block your every move. Sure, man may crash and burn in the attempt to conquer the universe, but he just might not. And this INTJ thinks it is worth taking a shot. Either we reach for the stars, or we sink into the Stone Age and probable extinction. If we are spread out over many planets, no asteroid could wipe us out, even if it were the size of Mars or Jupiter. The possibilities for the future are wonderful, and it is up to us to make them happen. The possibilities for idiots to trip us up and pull us into destruction is also huge. Who will win in the end? It is up to us to use our heads and make the right choices. I know that this is out of character for the masses. I hope, however, that it is not completely out of their reach. To end on a bit of INTJ optimism, I not only think that it can be done, but that it will be done, and 10 to 1 in INTJ will be making it happen. Thank you for listening. Please hit like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.